We begin, though, with K2's Brian Barker, who's the only local reporter embedded with the Oregon Guard in New Orleans. He joins us with an exclusive look at their operations. Hello, Brian.
Steve, good evening from Bourbon Street in New Orleans. Boy, I'll tell you, it is strange being down here. Imagine a city the size of Portland, flooded in water. There's looting all over the place, or looted buildings anyway, and it's completely dark. There is no power down here. Well, believe it or not, this is actually pretty good compared to where the Oregon National Guard is, a few miles that way. They are in one of the roughest neighborhoods in town.
It's a very difficult and challenging situation, but I think we've got the right people here to do the job.
Descending into the unknown, our convoy of Oregon Guardsmen enters a wrecked city. Some buildings are fine, others collapsed. There are burned out cars, abandoned police vehicles, starving animals wandering free. And as we drive deeper into town, water everywhere. This is the huge neighborhood Oregon Guardsmen are charged with protecting. The roughest, most crime-ridden part of town is strewn with wrecked city buses and still home to thousands who stayed behind. Many of them need help.
Well, these had an allergic reaction to you somehow.
Specialist Jack Jasperson is a medic, and as soon as we begin a patrol, he's busy with the wounded.
I'll tell you how much is in here, if they've got a regulator with it.
Busy searching for supplies. This is the inside of Fire Station 11. For some reason, it was looted completely.
I don't want to take something just to take it. I'll be as bad as the looters.
Outside, it's not much better. Trash is everywhere. There's talk of violence. Every soldier is armed and ready to pull the trigger.
My wife was nervous. I was excited.
But it's important to make friends. A free sandwich and a soda can go a long way. But everywhere, reminders of what just days ago was total chaos and disdain for police.
That's what we're here for. We're here to make it safe.
Not far down the road, Fort Mardi Gras, a convent turned into a command post. From here, soldiers will fan out through flooded streets and hopefully restore peace.
Everybody needs to get out here for their safety. Their lives are more valuable than their possessions.
A tough job, and as the sun sets on another sweltering summer night, you get the feeling this could be any foreign country, but not our own. There are 142 Oregon Guardsmen in New Orleans tonight. They patrol during the day, but we're told it's not safe to go out at night. Still, there are 60 more, roughly, Oregon Guardsmen coming in over the next few hours. And then later on today, they're expecting 500 more Oregon Guardsmen to come in, to total roughly 2,000 on the ground here, Steve. Really an incredible effort by the Oregon National Guard to help out in this incredible crisis.
Brian, they're saying 30,000 people still need to be evacuated. What's the plan in that? How long will it take, do you think?
No idea how long it's going to take, Steve. A lot of these people want to stay in their homes. And it's pretty interesting because the military guys out in the field are getting different intelligence than we're hearing from some of the officials here in town. Some people will tell you that there are 10,000 people still left out in some of these parishes and some of these neighborhoods who are either stranded or who refuse to be evacuated. But I was talking to one of the commanders out here, the major out there at the command post, and he was telling me that there may be as many as 30,000 people stranded just in New Orleans Parish alone, and it's his responsibility to take care of those people and make sure that they stay in order and don't break any laws.
Brian, most of us here have absolutely no idea what it's like to be here. Describe for us, if you can, what it's like to be standing out in those conditions right now.
Steve, I'll tell you, photojournalist Beth English and I have been discussing this for a while, and it's really hard to put into words. A city the size of Portland, and everywhere you go, there's destruction. Downtown here, there's flooding throughout the streets, and it goes like this for miles. There's looting. Some of these buildings have completely collapsed, as you saw in the video earlier tonight. And it's not just this downtown area. This is what you see when you watch the news most of the time, but the suburbs as well are also just in terrible shape. Power lines down everywhere. Just amazing that a disaster of this magnitude could hit a town this big and affect so many people.
Okay, Brian, of course, we'll be hearing from you for the next couple of days. You can follow Brian and photographer Beth English in their daily journey through the hurricane zone. Brian is keeping a web blog at KATU.com. And now to the latest on the Hurricane Katrina recovery efforts. Citizens still holding out in New Orleans are being forced out amid growing fears of a disease outbreak there. K2's John Capel will have the latest on more Oregon soldiers heading to the disaster zone.
We begin with K2's Brian Barker live in New Orleans, where Oregon soldiers are forcing some people out. Brian?
Yeah, they sure are, and here's why. They say the water's getting lower in New Orleans. Well, down here at Canal near Bourbon Street, you can see it really hasn't changed much in the past couple of days. It's the same story from here, pretty much all the way over to where the Oregon National Guard is. There are 1,800 Oregon National Guardsmen on the ground, and because the mayor gave that order that people who have decided to stick around can be forced to move out, our Oregon Guardsmen are playing a big role in making that happen.
The police force actually withdrew last night because it was just too much of a hot zone.
Welcome to the worst of it. This Winn-Dixie grocery store is now a lonely outpost for a few Oregon soldiers.
Surprisingly, they didn't take as much alcohol as I thought that they'd take.
PFC Megan Dooley was studying at the University of Portland last week. Now she patrols this looted store.
I know, it's like a whole nother world here. It's like at the movies. You walk around and it's a ghost town.
The store was a source of food for hurricane victims, but now they've been told to stop passing it out. If there's no food available, these people will get hungry and have to leave.
Do you trust anybody to take care of your home as well as you can?
We're trying to reestablish order here, and it's very hard to do that with people holding up.
Driving along, you can see that so much of Task Force Oregon's neighborhood is underwater.
Unfortunately, it is for their own good. Their sanitation is the big concern. Disease is a very big concern with these folks that are living in there right now.
Oregon soldiers have confiscated nearly a dozen city buses. They're using them as rescue vehicles. So far, they've evacuated nearly 100 people. And boats bring in more every few hours.
That's what I'm here for. You know, if I wasn't wearing this, I'd probably be doing the same thing.
But some of them will never leave. Here, a man's body lies at a gas station. He was shot in the face. Elsewhere, in flooded neighborhoods, other bodies float, chained to stop signs. A sobering reminder of how horrible this disaster really is. And back here near Bourbon Street, take a look at this water. It is thick and green and is full of gasoline and raw sewage. Well, this stuff is everywhere. The people in the Oregon National Guard sector, they're living amongst this stuff. And there are puddles of water like this also where the Oregon National Guard is, in fact, just right in front of where they're staying. And what's happening is as this water starts to dry up, it's been really hot, it turns into mud, and that dried sewage turns into this mud, and then it's blowing around in the dust, so everyone's breathing the dust into their nostrils that also comes from this water, which they've already said is very dangerous. We are live on Canal Street tonight in New Orleans. Brian Barker, K2 News.
Brian, thank you very much. And as Brian just mentioned, one of the main reasons for the forced evacuations is the serious health threat posed by that contaminated water. At least 5 deaths have been linked to the sewage-filled water in New Orleans. The people were killed by a bacteria similar to cholera. In Houston, 200 people are being treated for a serious intestinal virus, and doctors are worried it could spread in the crowded conditions of shelters like the Astrodome. ABC News asked a microbiologist to test the floodwaters from New Orleans. He found total sewage bacteria in the water 45,000 times higher than what would be considered safe for swimming in a pond or a lake. You can actually see the contamination under a black light there. The floodwater sample on the far right is lit up, full of disease-causing bacteria. It's these polluted floodwaters that Oregon National Guard soldiers are working in. With several hundred additional soldiers heading out today, we wanted to know what they're doing to get ready for a mission that poses a serious threat of disease or illness. And K2's John Capel is live at the Oregon Air National Guard base with that part of the story. John?
Steve, as you said, it's an unprecedented mobilization. 2,000 soldiers headed down to Louisiana, most of them going out today. And as you say, one of the most dangerous things they'll be facing is that toxic soup they'll be working in.
Is that all the rocks? Hold up on the rocks. Wait for Buck to give you the word that he's ready. Start taking them on.
It's the biggest one-day airlift ever for the Oregon National Guard. Almost 1,200 personnel, 37 Humvees, 17 ambulances, 28 5-ton trucks, several armored personnel carriers, and several dozen other vehicles, all going to a 3-by-5-mile section of New Orleans. But the Orleans quarter is still 3/4 underwater, and most of these Guard members are worried about the dangers lurking in that toxic soup.
Everything. There's petroleum from, oil rigs and being spilt over, and contamination from sewage, chemical plants, wherever you can think of.
We got gloves, we got masks, we got bug dope, we got body bags. Yeah, that's a whole bunch of these in the next 2 months.
But some are bringing boots and other personal gear. But the Guard freely admits they are not yet geared up for dealing with the toxic floodwaters.
There are a limited number of waders, boots, and that kind of thing that we are taking measures to procure more of those and see that they're shipped to those individuals. A lot of what we're trying to do is to see to it that they've got ways to, I'll say, clean up, decontaminate themselves, and so on. So these includes everything from what you go down and buy downtown: handy wipes, body wipes, bleach.
We brought along a pair of hip waders to send along, and these Guard members say they will get used.
It's going to be warm.
Yeah, but it's going to keep the gunk off.
It will. It'll keep the stuff off, definitely.
Now, the Navy is providing 18 Zodiac-type inflatable boats for the Oregon National Guard to use, but the overriding word as these Guard members shipped out today, stay out of the water as much as you can. Live at the Portland Air Base, John Capel, K2 News.
Some Oregon truck drivers are volunteering their time and resources to haul food and supplies to the evacuees. K2's Susan Harding explains they're joining Oregon State Police and other volunteers in a grassroots effort to save lives.
This Army warehouse in Clackamas is usually filled with supplies for soldiers. Today, the supplies are for survivors: canned goods and bottled water, baby wipes and diapers. The Association for Oregon State Police first thought of sending a boxcar van. Then the idea grew.
Going like this, snowballing.
And now, 4 long-haul trucks will be packed with emergency relief for the Gulf.
People are stopping by, they're dropping off 20s and 50s, canned goods, whatever they can donate.
It's overwhelming on how much people have donated to this. And
the truckers volunteering their time and their big rigs.
They need to be honored for this because a lot of these guys are taking the money out of their pocket to do it. And a lot of them can't afford it.
As they prepare to ship supplies out, others are preparing for the 1,000 refugees who will be coming in.
We can only do it one family at a time.
Jody McGillivray wants to link hurricane refugees to homes in the Northwest. She's already getting email.
We have a nursery with an extra crib. We have a family, a room for a family and a nursery.
The continuous heartbreaking scenes turned the part-time pet sitter into an activist.
Now it's time for everyone here in the Northwest to really open up their hearts and open up their homes and open up their pocketbooks to these folks.
In Portland, Susan Harding, K2 News.
And Jody McGillivray has started up a website called KatrinaHousingNorthwest.org. About 70 people have already signed up, offering to open their homes to refugees. She says everyone involved will be screened and asks homeowners to make a 4-month commitment. K2 News is teaming up with the local Red Cross to raise as much money as possible for the relief effort. So far, local donations have already topped $1 million. For information on how you can donate, go to KATU.com and look for the Red Cross icon. Be sure to stay with K2 and ABC News for continuing coverage of the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. And in between newscasts, go to KATU.com.
Hurricane Katrina survivors.
Oregon is opening its doors up to 1,000 evacuees, a move that, believe it or not, is getting a mixed response. K2's Shelley Bailey-Shaw joins us live from Southeast Portland to explain what we mean. Shelley.
Well, Dan, a meeting between city officials and Red Cross officials and residents of the Buckman neighborhood just wrapped up. In the Buckman neighborhood is where Washington High School is. That's where the evacuees will be housed, maybe up to 6 months. Now, all day long, the mayor's office, along with the Red Cross, and even at K2, we've been getting emails and calls from concerned neighbors who have questions. Meantime, just a couple blocks away, the facility is under preparation.
The Rendo.
The clock is ticking.
Let's see if we can assemble this one here.
By mid or late this week, all of these cots and all of these and all of these at Washington High School will be filled. And the Red Cross is still looking for one more big space.
I'm confident we'll have a second location by then.
There may be a shortage of room for the expected 1,000 evacuees, but there's certainly not a shortage of people who want to help.
Yeah, they got the cots set up in the gymnasium now.
Charles Bedford has family in Louisiana being helped by the Red Cross. Now he's ready to return the favor.
I still don't know exactly what I can do, but I'm going to find out if there's anything I can do in my spare time.
I've been on conference calls.
In fact, the Red Cross has been flooded with calls. But to help, even at this shelter, people need to register and then wait to take a class.
It's just not a one-day shot either. It's going to be, several months probably.
And the Red Cross is still asking people to give money, not donations.
To have independent efforts underway in arriving at the shelter with food and toys and things like that, it's not orderly.
The Red Cross wants this to be orderly for the drained evacuees and for the folks in the Buckman neighborhood who will soon have lots of new neighbors.
I want to help all I can, but I'm a little concerned about maybe crime in the neighborhood. We just have to wait and see.
Some couldn't wait to get to work. These neighborhood kids and their parents decided on their own to clean up outside the school.
And, we all want to do good, I think, and this is a great opportunity to help people in need.
Now, again, the mayor was here trying to put people's minds at ease. And I have to tell you, for the most part, we found people to be very supportive and actually eager to finally do something for those people they've been watching on television for the last week. Dan?
Shelley, question, do we know what the long-term plan is for the evacuees?
Well, Dan, it's really going to be up to them. Some people may decide that they just need a few days to recuperate, to recover, and then fly back to the hurricane-stricken areas. Others may decide that they have nothing to go back to and could put roots down here in Portland.
Shelley Bailey-Shaw in Southeast Portland, thank you.
Thank you. Oregon National Guard soldiers are providing security as rescue workers go door to door looking for residents. K2's Brian Barker is embedded with the Oregon Guard in New Orleans, and Brian shows us just how difficult it is to bring these incredible stories to us each day.
Well, good evening from downtown New Orleans. We are on Canal Street near Bourbon Street, and the conditions down here are pretty austere. Imagine an area the size of the city of Portland with no power, no running water. We're down here in the media compound in this area all around here. This is where all of the satellite trucks are and the world media. Al Jazeera is here. There's media from all over Europe and, of course, all over the United States. And we're surrounded by this water. This is Canal Street, and the water is full of gasoline and sewage, and it's just really a pretty terrible sight. And it's because of this water that the mayor ordered a mandatory evacuation of forcible removing of people in the New Orleans area. They were allowing people to take food from a Winn-Dixie grocery store that the Oregon Guardsmen are responsible for, but now Oregon soldiers are guarding the doors. They've been ordered to give away water to hurricane victims, but not food. Well, it sounds bad, but they say as long as they're handing out food, those people will stay here, and they're trying to force them out. Meanwhile, the sanitary situation here just continues to get worse. As I said, standing water just everywhere, some places as high as the rooftops. It's laced with sewage, E. coli, and the occasional dead body. Disease is spreading, and they're starting to worry about the health of the rescuers and the soldiers who are here. We understand that just in the past couple of days, 5 people have died from waterborne disease that's being spread. And as this water starts to dry, and this is happening in the Oregon sector, it becomes a dust, and the dust blows around, gets in the nostrils of just everybody who's out here. Certainly an unsanitary situation, and this city is not habitable. We are in New Orleans tonight. Brian Barker, K2 News.
And you can follow Brian and photographer Beth English through their journey in Louisiana. Brian is keeping a daily web blog at KATU.com.
Oregon has been preparing to welcome evacuees with open arms, setting up a shelter at the old Washington High School in Southeast Portland, and now a second shelter in Oregon City. But as K2's Elaine Murphy reports, it may all have been in vain.
It's a carefully hand-lettered sign hanging on the wall of the gymnasium. A gymnasium filled with hundreds of cots for evacuees that may never come.
The area in the Gulf Coast region is improving, and a lot of those evacuees are seeing that improvement and are desiring to not be evacuated.
And yet the food keeps coming, and the blankets, and the water, and the people who want to help, because some evacuees may still, at the last moment, be sent here.
If they show up today, we're ready. If they show up a month from now, we're ready.
When Oregon volunteered to take as many as 1,000 evacuees, this shelter was no more than a thought. But Oregonians learned a valuable lesson. Disaster drills work.
Well, if they don't come, we have prepared ourselves for an emergency and know that we have the ability to put it together.
Now it waits. No one knows for how long, until federal officials say it's not needed. But it's been costly. Best guess, more than $100,000. The federal government is looking at the possibility of reimbursing states that have opened their doors. Even if these cots are never used, Oregon officials say they want to figure out a way Oregonians can help these people in a real, meaningful way. Elaine Murphy, K2 News.
We've learned tonight that our Oregon National Guard troops in New Orleans will soon be returning home. K2's Brian Barker, who's been embedded with the Guard, joins us live from New Orleans with details. What's going on, Brian? They coming home soon?
They are, Steve, in 2 weeks. October 1st is a date announced by the Oregon Guard General just a couple of hours ago, but they will not get much of a break. They have to start training for a deployment to Afghanistan. That deployment to Afghanistan happens next year. Now, most of the soldiers got the call to come to Louisiana and were here in a matter of days now after helping to evacuate 700 people and bring law and order and security to these lawless neighborhoods. They'll prepare to do something similar in Afghanistan. The neighborhood they're patrolling is still wrecked, though. A National Guard unit from another state will have to take their place. It's going to be a long time before anyone can move into that neighborhood, but people are coming back into New Orleans. You know, it's interesting how many people you run into out here who have ties to Oregon, people who recently moved here. We met one guy who moved here a couple of years ago. He just bought a house. You can imagine what this would be like for someone coming from Oregon to see a hurricane like this. Well, his family lost everything.
There's my church right there.
In a town turned upside down, Christopher McLaren's drive home.
Looks like the doors are all okay.
Takes him past a church where he's an Episcopal priest.
Oh my goodness.
Past square miles of devastation to a ruined house. McLaren, his wife, and 3 kids just bought this place.
Oh my God. Whew, that's ripe.
Inside, the stench is overpowering.
It's growing some serious mold. Whoa, be careful.
Everything in here is wet. In the living room, you can see the water line on a cabinet. It was nearly 3 feet deep.
It's really gross and it really smells, but I'm gonna start looking around, sweetie, for stuff.
McLaren breaks the news to his wife. It's just as bad as they feared.
I'm just trying to get these photos out before they get too bad.
But the pictures they treasure are still okay.
Oh, there's Sophia just before she started to walk. That's good.
McLaren grew up in Oregon, met his wife at Willamette University, and moved here 5 years ago.
Yeah, this is our quilt from our wedding.
Many of the mementos they treasured are ruined. The McLarens evacuated the day before the storm. They thought they'd return here after another scare.
I'm kind of devastated just seeing all the stuff gone. I mean, I guess, you know, insurance money and stuff can be replaced, so I'm glad we're okay, but it's really hard to have your life gone. Don't get this on you.
Oregon sounds pretty good right now. The hard question everyone's facing, can he, should he give up on New Orleans or help rebuild? And that's just the question that everybody's asking. As you look around down here in downtown New Orleans, you'll see these piles of trash and debris everywhere. This city just has an incomprehensible amount of cleaning up to do. McLaren says that he has committed to staying at his church for at least another year to help the church get back on his feet and rebuild, but he and his family are seriously considering the possibility of returning to Oregon. This is just too much. Stephen, Deb, back to you.
Okay, Brian, do us a favor, stay right there for a moment if you can. We want to bring in K2 political analyst Tim Hibbets now.
President Bush will address the nation live from New Orleans tonight. He's going to announce his reconstruction plan for the devastated Gulf region.
Brian, we'll get your perspective in just a moment, but first of all, Tim, will this be enough for the president to get over all this criticism he's been facing about not jumping in soon enough?
Well, I don't think it is going to be enough for him to get over the criticism completely. It may be a start, and you have to look at the president's ratings in totality. Since his re-election, he basically peaked at about 55% just after Election Day and has been dropping down ever so slowly since then. He's down now around 40%. Iraq has taken its toll on him. The perceived slow response of the federal government to the New Orleans disaster, the hurricane disaster, has also taken a toll on him. And I don't think this is something where he's just going to be able to build his numbers up immediately back to where they were.
Tim, some of the things the president is expected to talk about tonight: housing, job training, health care, but he's also expected to talk about the poverty and the fact that this disaster stranded so many people who just simply couldn't get out.
And is that a good idea, seeing so many black Americans feel that help would have come sooner had they not been black and poor?
That's a great question, and I think the answer is it is a good idea for the president to address this issue because he's gotten a lot of criticism, and even from his own party he's been criticized. So I think it's appropriate that he deal with this issue because it's closely on the minds of Americans.
We want to bring Brian Barker back into this. Brian has been in the South. He's been in the New Orleans area for 2 weeks now. You've really had a sense of what folks are going through and people who've lost everything.
Brian, do you think the president's speech will make these folks feel any better at all?
Well, Steve, you know, what can you say after a disaster like this? These people, if you go out and ask them, they'll tell you that they need to hear something from the president. The first time he came down here last week, they felt a little bit better, but they really feel disenfranchised, many of them. that the response from the government took so long. They realized this was a storm and nobody can do anything about the path of a hurricane, but they're really upset about that slow federal response. So I think that when you ask these people what they need to hear from the president, they need to hear that there's a plan. And these people don't want to just sit around and wait for the federal government to clean this city up. They're willing to pick up and they're willing to help, but they just need to know that there's a plan out there to help them get started.
Brian, I'm sure tough question to answer, but how long do you think it'll take the area to fully recover? Any thoughts at all on that?
We're down here on Canal Street and it looks great. The French Quarter looks great, but there are huge neighborhoods. You've got to come here to see it. We're talking areas the size of North and Northeast Portland combined that will more than likely have to be bulldozed. It could be years.
All right, Brian, thank you very much.